Halloween is here. And that means the spooky times are upon us. And during the spooky times, it's usually tradition to talk about the spooky things. However, I'm not talking about the spooky things. At least not the traditionally spooky things. Despite it being tradition to talk about the spooky things, I'm not talking about the traditionally spooky things, but I'm still talking about spooky things. Today I want to talk about the SCP Foundation, and why it's completely insane.
For those unaware of the subject matter, the SCP Foundation is a website housing information on thousands upon thousands of anomalous things. These articles are actually written up by a group of people, and anyone could submit new ones. Well, unless you're under 15. Other members of the site can vote on whether an article is good or bad. If it's bad, it'll get removed, in order to maintain a consistent level of quality across all articles. As with most internet tales, our story begins in a familiarly kooky place. 4chan. The year is 2007, and frequent users of 4chan's paranormal board discover a man named SS Walrus, who had written a post titled From the Files of Site-19. The post had a unique tone compared to most quote-unquote spooky stories on the internet at the time. It was written much more like a government report than an actual story. Additionally, the title, From the Files of Site-19, implied that there was a location that this article came from, that being Site-19. This, coupled with the entity's item number, 173, implying that there were at least 172 more of these things, meant that there could be potentially more to this story than just this one post. And people absolutely loved it. While the article had its fair share of gaping flaws, people were still enamored with the concept. They began making their own SCPs, and soon 4chan was flooded with them. So they had to make their own wiki, and the rest is history. Nowadays, the bar of what constitutes a good SCP has been risen so high that a lot of people speculate that these older articles would get deleted on the newer site.
I would love to see
Series 1 SCPs
try to exist in the landscape today.
So what was the actual SCP itself that caused all of this to happen? I don't know how he hasn't been in my nightmares yet. SCP-173 is a sculpture, and he works kinda similar to the Weeping Angels of Doctor Who, in that it can only move when not being looked at, but to balance this, when it does move, it moves fast. The main difference between the Angels and 173 is that while the Angels send you back in time, 173 just up and snaps your neck. A single blink is all it takes for 173 to wipe the floor with you.
Guys, it's 3 a.m. Oh my god, it's Mr. Peanut from the Baby Peanut commercial. He's behind me. Oh.
So yeah, this is one powerful peanut. But I know what you're thinking. Why can't the Foundation just lock him in a box, useless Slippy the dog? If no one goes in there, he's effectively useless. Aha, but you're forgetting one key component. SCP-173 can create poop that damages his surroundings. So the Foundation has to send janitors in to clean him up.
And the poo-poo, and the pee-pee,
and the pee-pee, and the poo-poo.
and the poo-poo, and the...
Most SCPs, no matter how dangerous, are kept alive by the Foundation for scientific purposes. However, SCP-682 is an exception. 682 is a large reptile that is unable to be destroyed, since any damage he takes will be regenerated over time. On top of that, 682 has the ability of rapid evolution. For example, let's say 682 gets hit by a truck. When he regenerates, he can use his wacky evolution powers to create a protective shell. If the truck were to hit him again, he would take much less damage. 682 is also incredibly smart, to the point of being able to speak English. However, despite his intelligence, the only two thoughts he seems to have is escaping and killing humans. He doesn't even have a sad backstory to justify his mindset. He just thinks we're not poggers and wants to eat us. One time the Foundation asked him why he ate some farmers, and his reply was, "They were disgusting." That's basically the equivalent of the Foundation going, "Oh, 682, why did you murder those people?" And then 682 just goes,
I did it for the lulz.
So, due to the incredible threat and general mean attitude he poses, the Foundation often tries to kill 682. However, his regenerative properties often make it but a scratch. Currently, 682 is contained in a swimming pool of hydrofluoric acid, since the constant damage of the acid is the only thing that can combat his regenerative properties. And so 682 lies, forever trapped in acid and waiting for his next murder attempt.
SCP-682
In the community, 682 is kind of considered a poorly written one overall, kind of just being way too overpowered, but he's a classic nonetheless.
It's probably time I talk about something that a lot of SCP fans would agree I should have talked about way before now. That, of course, being one of the most important and well-known parts of the SCP lore.
Object classes.
You see, every SCP has a designated object class that determines how good they are at escaping. There's a lot of minor object classes, but for right now, all you need to know is the trifecta of Safe, Euclid, and Heater. Although we'll cover their estranged cousins in another video. First up is Safe. Safe SCPs are usually incapable of moving, or can't do anything as long as they're completely ignored. This makes them very easy to be contained, but that doesn't mean it's impossible for them to break free. Next up is Euclid. Euclid SCPs are always a little bit harder than Safe to contain, although they can be much more so. If it could reasonably escape if left alone, it's Euclid. 173's object class is actually Euclid. Finally, Heater. Heater class SCPs are far and away the best at escaping. Sure, it's totally possible to contain them, but you're gonna have to put a lot of effort to do so. 682's object class is in fact Heater. Since Heater usually invites the most dangerous types of SCPs, lots of SCPs tend to be Heater. However, it's important to remember that object classes aren't the danger of the entity, but how good they are at escaping. And I think an SCP that would be very helpful in understanding this concept would be none other than Shy Guy. Wait, no, wrong one. The one I'm talking about looks more humanoid. No, still wrong. The one I'm talking about I don't get turned on by. There we go. SCP-096 is a white man. Okay, there's way more to them than that. I think the better way to describe him is a man-child, as he spends most of his time doing nothing and crying. But while usually 096 just vibes, there is another side to him. While 096 is usually a very good boy, there is a sort of trigger for him. That being, he hates it when people see his face. Now, you can obviously trigger this if you just find 096 in the wild. However, more surprisingly, video footage will also get 096 mad. But the worst part is that this happens even with pictures. A random photo of 096 can make him come after you. Doesn't work on artistic interpretations though. Get invalidated, Twitter artists. But anyways, what actually happens when 096 is triggered? Well, his normal crying will start becoming more frantic and agitated. After about a minute, he'll start mixing in some screams, and then...
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
He will break out of whatever location or compound he's in for the sole purpose of coming to kill you. On the opposite side of the world? Doesn't matter. 096 will be there in an hour flat. Also, if a random person happens to see him on his way to kill somebody, they'll eventually be killed too. However, 096 is kinda picky about the order he does things in. If he's going to kill one guy but then two other people see him, he'll kill the guy he was gonna kill first and then kill the other two people. Now, all of this information I've been telling you is so that I can tie it back into the object classes. Because 096 object class is Euclid. And I might need to explain to you all why. Now some of you might be thinking, oh, well if safe classes are usually completely harmless unless they are specifically triggered by some force, that sounds like 096 would fit right in being a safe. And to that I say... This argument almost makes sense, but just barely falls flat. Safe SCPs can be ignored, and in fact they are usually best dealt with ignored. If they play their cards right, the most the Foundation has to worry about safe SCPs is the public finding out about them. Meanwhile, see these 4 pixels? Yeah, this is 096's face. Thousands of people died from this.
What?
So yeah, I'm gonna say that 096 doesn't make sense as safe.
Bruh.
Now, some more of you might be thinking, you said 096 is good at escaping, which sounds a lot like a Keter class. However, I'm once again gonna call you wrong. If 096 isn't currently triggered, it's not that hard to lock him in a windowless box. And it's even easier to get rid of any cameras around there. This is nothing compared to what some Keter classes have to go through. Also, the Foundation can try and destroy traces of 096's face, which maximizes the time in between 096's breakouts. So I think Euclid is pretty good for 096. Now enough about my Mario Kart main. On to the next one!
You know the bloopers from Mario Kart? Well, screw you! Well, Super Mario 3D Land has inky piranha plants.
SCP-035 is a 15th century mask that constantly emits some sort of black ooze. This ooze is very harmful to humans, and 035 can spread it across any surface they touch. However, the most interesting aspect of 035 is its mind control abilities. For simplicity's sake, here's a recreation of what would happen if a human being came across SCP-035.
Check out this new app. You need to check out this new app.
This is a really good mask.
Gotcha!
Bravo 6, going dog.
Yeah, he just kinda takes over your mind and then kills you. Proceeding to wear that suit better than you ever could.
Uh-oh.
There are a few things that separate 035 from other mind-controlling characters. For example, his ooze. If you notice, it actually infects the bodies of those he possesses. This actually degrades bodies, and he has to keep switching hosts in order to stop him from just possessing useless corpses. He sometimes switches from being a comedy or tragedy mask, and interestingly, this change affects all photos depicting him. The ability doesn't do much other than add something else spooky for 035 to do, and to be a little Easter egg on the official article. However, one ability that is worth bringing up is that 035 doesn't always have to be right nearby someone to possess them. Normally, being close to 035 is game over for you, but if he's a few yards away, you should be fine.
I'm a loser.
Well, now you've spent 4 months in walking distance of 035. Now he can possess you without you even wearing him! Normally he'd just try and get you to put him on, but he's past that now. Now he's gonna make you super aggressive! And... oh no. So in the end, why highlight these 4 SCPs in particular? Especially when there's over 6,000 I could have chosen. Well, it's because I'm a lazy piece of crap who can't get anything out on time! However, beyond that, I think these 4 SCPs each represent something about the Foundation as a whole. SCP-173 was the beginning of this entire community, and set the foundation for the Foundation. SCP-682 is also representative of older times, but he also represents the flaws of the website and how far we've come, given that he's kinda crap. SCP-096 is a great and easy way to understand the object class system.
And he's also the best one.
And SCP-035 shows how the Foundation can put twists on simple concepts, something that will be repeated time and time again, and in much cooler ways.
And that pretty much concludes this video. I just wanted to talk about SCPs because I think a lot of them are really cool. So long, Slurpers, and... Slurp? Honestly, I might have to normalize the outro again soon so I won't have to top it every time. Now, to take this mask off. Once again. Uh-oh.
Get it out!